Late October is normally the time of year when a lot of people put their boats away and they take up hunting. Can't blame them for that. Well, I took a little trip out here to North Dakota to meet up with fellow tournament angler Jim Carroll. Brought my best buddy Beer here along. As you can see, we already got out hunting, and Beer actually did a great job. He got a limit of birds up for us. We were able to knock down 2. Thankfully, I think we're going to be able to catch walleyes a little bit better. We're actually going to go out on big Lake Sakakawea, which is one of the reservoirs on the Missouri River, and we're going to go cranking for walleyes. Going to show you how to use lead core and hopefully get some great big Missouri River, North Dakota walleyes, and show you how to get the next bite.
Just looking for the next bite, next bite, just looking for the next bite.
We'll continue to show you the next bite.
Lake Sakakawea is currently the 3rd largest man-made lake in the United States.
Love coming to North Dakota to fish. Hate that Jim Carroll has to get up at sunrise to catch walleyes.
This reservoir is part of the Missouri River Basin and features depths reaching down to 180 feet.
Fish, fish!
Oh, yeah. That didn't take too long, did it?
Normally, during the fall months, jigs are the ticket for catching these central North Dakota walleyes.
Small and fish.
But a very unique set of conditions are at play that are giving professional walleye tournament competitors and fellow Nitro Boats team members Keith Cavias and Jim Carroll
Not too bad. Swing that thing.
Tuna flip!
the chance to use crankbaits even this late in the open water fishing season.
Sun didn't even come up yet, and we got one.
There was a reason why I asked you to come out this early. We're out here in late October on Lake Sakakawea, and we're actually trolling today. And that's not something that I normally do this late in the fall, but what's changed this year is there's so much bait in the lake that we seem like we have to do something to trigger these fish into biting. Usually we'd come out here with a jig and a minnow and try and jig these fish up, but it just doesn't seem to be working as much this year. The other difference, I think, is it's been a pretty warm fall, and we still got water temperatures in the mid-50. So today, trolling, I think that's what's going to catch our fish.
Got one. Pounding pretty good.
Yeah?
Way out off the deep. It's 45 feet of water. And
There's a lot of bait out here. Maybe they're just out off the end.
yeah, I switched up the color on you a little here.
Oh, did you?
Put on a little racy shad color.
Sweet.
Stay down nice. He's staying down good. Jim, go ahead and grab the net. Scoot up here a little.
We like this one, Beer. I see colors.
Yeah, that's a decent one. That's a good one.
There we go.
Oh, he's off.
Got him just by the chin.
Hey there, look at there. Little racy shad. One of my favorite colors. Probably one of the most underused colors there is.
Look at that.
Oh, he's chunky.
Chunky
You can tell
is
they've been
right.
eating smelt or Cisco or whatever the heck's down there. That's a nice healthy fish.
It sure is. So when you come out to Sakakawea in the fall and you're looking for these fish, typically they're going to relate to steep edges because that's where the bait is. So we're going to come out, we're going to look for those steep breaking edges, and we're going to use our electronics to find the bait. Now that bait can be in really deep water, but that's typically not where the fish are. So we'll use our electronics and find where the shallow edge of the bait is. And that might be in 25 feet of water, that might be in 35 feet of water. And wherever we see that inside edge bait, that's where we want to run our crankbait, and we're going to catch some fish. Look for that bait on those inside edges, that's where we're going to get our fish.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury, #1 on the water. AmSoil, performance for serious adventure. Tracker boats, fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Berkeley, catch more fish. Mustad, stay sharper longer. Lowrance, find, navigate, dominate. Motor Guide trolling motors engineered for anglers. Strike King, legacy of domination for 50 years. And Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Warmer than usual water temperatures, coupled with an abundance of bait fish on Lake Sakakawea, has made it possible for Keith and Jim to troll leadcore with crank baits, even though it is mid-October.
We got one.
Their approach is very active as far as trolling goes, since the breaks they are fishing require their full attention when it comes to boat control.
Oh, beer. What the heck?
Says that's bite size.
So one of the tricky parts about fishing these sharp breaks with crankbaits is that you got to keep your baits right close to the bottom, and pretty much the only way you can have good enough boat control to do that is by using a kicker like Jim is. The reason that you need to be pretty much back on a tiller kicker is that you got to be doing two things when you're out here controlling the boat. The first thing is he's got to be watching the depth finder and trying to keep in a particular depth. Once we have the lures out, if you go a lot deeper, a lot shallower, obviously the lures aren't going to be in the right zone. So he's got to be following those contours, following those points, and always turning, and having to turn a lot of times quickly. But the second thing that you've got to do on these sharp breaks is use the speed control of the kicker to keep the baits in the zone. And what I mean by that is, if you happen to get out a hair deeper, all you got to do is slow the boat down a little bit. The leadcore will sink more efficiently and pull those baits down a little bit deeper and keep them in the zone. If you get up a little too high, like maybe the wind pushes you up a little shallow, he simply speeds up. That lifts the leadcore, lifts the baits, and keeps them from banging too hard on the bottom. So by using the kicker and using the two parts of a kicker, speed steering and quick throttle adjustments, you can stay on these breaks, keep your baits in the right zone, and catch a bunch of big walleyes. Right here.
Oh, there you go. Big bender.
That's a big fish. A little deeper out here. 180 back.
It's got that rod cranked over.
Yeah.
It's steady now though, Keith.
It is steady. Maybe the net, James, the net.
All right.
Grab her.
Acting like a big walleye.
Now it is. He's staying down right,
Yeah, he
isn't he?
sure is. I think that's a big walleye, Keith.
Could be a really good one. Look at what color I have out there. I think the old fire tagger.
That's a big eye. It's gotta be.
24 feet.
Gotta be.
He sure is staying down, isn't he?
Yeah.
Extend that net just a little bit. In fact, why don't you move that rod out of the way? We don't want to be messing this one up. Yours in good position back there, see? Huh? Here he comes. Here he comes, Jim.
That's diver down.
Here comes the leader. Here comes.
Oh, that's a beauty, Keith. That's a beauty.
Yeah! That's a good one.
Oh, there we go.
Old fire tiger here.
Came through.
Let me see here.
Here you go.
He hit it. Look at it. He really T-boned it too.
Yeah.
Right on the middle hook like that. That's a good sign when they do stuff
Yeah,
like that.
definitely.
It was interesting though. We kind of dropped out a little bit deeper. I dropped back this leadcore to 180, so that's almost a little over 5 colors of lead we had out. Thank you, Jim. So it was getting down there, I'm sure, pretty close to the bottom, down to 35, 36 feet. Doubled over. I was a little afraid, though. I was really concerned with that. No, I didn't like that.
Shank.
Oh, come on. Not a pike. No pike.
No pike.
The Real Deal, real fishing information from real fishing experts, presented by AmSoil.
The last few years, Keith Cavaius and I in particular have been talking a lot about crankbaits and fishing walleyes. One of the baits that you hear all the time coming out of our mouth is flicker shad. Flicker shad, flicker shad. There's a reason for that. The bait itself has been around now for about 6 or 7 years. The Berkeley crew, their R&D crew, allowed Keith and I to help build this bait from scratch and work on the action. It's really critical to have the right action to catch a lot of fish. We spent a couple of years in the design of the flicker shad. There are many sizes now. There's size 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. But it took over 2 years to get the actions of this bait, because one of the things that we wanted to do as tournament anglers, have a bait that would trip the trigger of these game fish so that they'd want to bite it more often than anything else. Well, what has happened with that shad style bait is we've actually taken it to another level. This last year we added the Pro Series colors. So you've got a slick foil pattern and then an internal foil pattern. Well, the tournament guys really have been using these a lot and have won a lot of money already in the last year or so. So shad style baits are really good baits. The next style bait that you look for in trying to trip the trigger of a game fish is a minnow bait. And here we have the new flicker minnows. Again, probably because of the success of the flicker shad, Berkeley's design team said, hey, would you guys work with us on the minnow? So this one took 3 years. The minnow shapes take a little bit longer to nail down that action. And we fished these baits on so many bodies of water. That's why it took 3 years. So that goes back to the question, what bait should I get? What bait should I use? Well, we've narrowed it down to 2 basic choices in terms of what the fish will use 90% of the time. That's shad and minnow, right? So your job is to carry a big enough assortment of different sizes of baits so that you can literally give them any type of profile that they're looking for. And then after you get the right size and action of bait, then you start playing with the colors, you narrow it down until you find that magic lure for the day. That's exactly what we did in all of those years of development, is we let the fish tell us the story on these baits. You do the same thing when you're on the water and you're going to get a lot more fish.
So let's look at what we're going to do when we first start lead core fishing. The first thing you're going to want to do is basically kind of randomly put out some line. And you want to make sure then that the bait is close to the bottom. So what you've got to do is actually see that bait start to hit the bottom. If it isn't hitting bottom, let out some more line. Maybe let out another 20 feet, another 20 feet, until finally it starts to tick bottom, and then you're going to reel up a little line and lift it up. Now this is where a line counter really comes in handy, because oftentimes that's not an even number of colors of lead. You know, it might not be 2 colors, 3 colors. It might be 142 feet. So the good thing is once you figure that out one time, if you've got a line counter, you can immediately put back out 142 feet. Now you're right back down in that fish zone. All right, so let's take a look at some of the components of this system that let us run this lead core. First of all, you don't connect lead core right to your lure. You're going to want some kind of a leader. Now in this case, we've still got some of the old grass and brush and things down there, so you can get debris on your lure. You want to use a no stretch leader in that situation, because then you can watch that lure vibrate and know when you pick up some junk. I used about a 15-foot no stretch leader of fire line. To that then, we're going to have our lead core. Now the lead core is going to be 18-pound test lead core. That's a real good diving lead core. It gets your bait down quickly, but yet it's thick enough so that when you pick up and slow down on your speeds, it will actually change what depth that crankbait is actually running. Now, you're going to want a fairly flexible rod. We're running 2 different rods in this case. We're running a 10-foot rod far out to the side, and then we're running a shorter 8.5-foot rod inside, but all of them have a very flexible tip on them so that when that fish hits in this no stretch situation, you got a little shock absorption. Now many times to get your bait down to the right depth, you're going to have to let out a lot of line, 150 feet, 180 feet. Well, Jim has come up with a method with a lead ball that you add to this lead core that really helps with that. I'm going to let him describe that.
So when we're cranking really deep, I like to use what I call a heavy ball. And what that is, it's an 8-ounce lead weight over the top of this red offshore release. This release is very important. It's a release that has a pin in it. And to place it on the line, you put that lead core deep in that clip and the pin goes over the top, and that'll keep it on your line. I like to use this heavy ball system anytime I'm running lead core back 150 feet or more. If we were to take our 4 lead lines and put them back 200 feet, get those lures wobbling back there, maybe we get a fish on, maybe we get a little bit of bottom debris, all that stuff's going to come together and we're probably going to have a big knotted up mess. So what I like to do is take this heavy ball and put it on my front line, clip it on the line, and then that gives me a nice spread between my 2 lines. I got my one rod way out the back and I got my other rod shorter and in front of it. So the 2 things are, you get the nice spread between your lines and it's very quick to deploy. You drop this thing down, plunk, it's gone, you're fishing fast.
Right here, Jim.
Oh yeah.
I'm bringing up my other line, and this one went down.
That looks good.
This is on the ball.
The heavy ball.
Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire.
Nice and steady.
Beer's ready for the ball. I'm at 60, so the ball's 10 more here. There you go. Here comes the ball.
Let's get that ball. I better get the net for this one.
Definitely. I like when you think you should get the net. You know, he feels about 8 ounces lighter than he did, Jim. I'm gonna just keep him coming nice and steady. He's a good fish.
Definitely good fish.
Here comes 20, Jim. Leader should be right here.
Right.
Here he comes, Jim.
Oh, it's a nice one,
That's
Keith.
a good one.
Oh,
yeah. Look at this tank. Beer, knock it out. That thing has been eating the schmelz.
That thing's just a brick.
Jeez, I mean, he is just a great fish. God, that ball is cool because it keeps it away from that other line, and didn't have to even worry about that. So, very nice system here. Beer. I know you like them, but don't bite them.
Let's give a little
We don't
walleye
need the
love.
next bite that way. All right, here we go. I think he's gonna go here. Beautiful.
Hot topics, leading information, and tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
We're in an 18-foot deep V boat right now. And those boats have notoriously been a little bit tough to get up on plane. If you're trying to fight bigger waves with a boat like that, you need to have a lot of power and lower end torque. Enter Mercury's new 4-stroke. This is the 150 4-stroke. They came out with it a couple years ago, and it was built just for these types of boats. It was built for the deep V boats, the pontoon boats, anything that's got a load to it, something that's pretty heavy. They actually designed the motor to have more low-end torque than anything else in its class. But yet they didn't give up speed. Top-end speed's been pretty phenomenal with this motor, and they worked on the fuel economy. The fuel economy for this motor is excellent also. But probably what stands out the most is out of this engine, this being a 4-stroke engine, it's the lightest engine in its class. But more than anything else, the engine has been bulletproof the last 2 years. So if you're looking at that type of a boat, 18, 19 feet deep V's, a big pontoon, anything along those lines, this is absolutely the motor of choice.
With more than a few northern pike latching onto their lures in between walleye bites, Keith and Jim are having a harder time than usual telling the difference between the bigger reservoir walleyes
A big fish, whatever it is.
Yeah, that is a good one.
and some of the smaller pike, although not all of the pike have been small.
Look at the gut on this fish. That's a nice bite there.
With lengths of lead core stretching as far as 190 feet out from the back of the boat to their crankbaits.
He's running now like a pike. Oh, I hope it doesn't have leopard spots. Real solid.
That's a good bend anyway.
Combined with the way that some of these Lake Sakakawea walleyes are running like pike would typically do, makes it a long time to wait and wonder if it's a big walleye or not that is on the line.
Looks like a good one. I'm gonna get the net.
It's a real good one. Root for the right kind here.
You never know.
Yeah, treat it like a walleye till you know better. Oh, no.
No good. You net it. I think you can just net this yourself.
I would have a little too much acceleration, I think.
Yeah, just have a nice time. I'll just be over here fishing or something. Real walleyes can do that.
Yeah, they could.
They got a head. They know how to shake it. Beer, you net this one. Here you go. Here you go, buddy. Where's that
Oh, here's a
fingers?
big northern roll right here. It's a walleye,
sure?
Keith. That's a big walleye,
get a
Keith.
good look
Big
at it.
walleye.
Are you sure?
Yes, big walleye,
Oh,
Keith.
you're right. Here it is.
Oh, here
on,
it
Jim,
is.
a little
Here it
further.
is, Keith.
A little further.
Go, stay on there, big girl. Come on. Stay on there, big girl. Oh, yeah.
It's the pike tin walleye!
Super tanker!
That is an unreal fish right there.
There's a beauty.
That is a monster. Look at this thing. And he's off. He's just off just like that. Look at how big this thing is.
Wow!
Unreal. Here, take your fish in, man. Nice job. Got him?
Yeah.
Look at the size.
Look at that fish.
Look at the weight.
Look at
gut
the
on
belly
this thing.
on that thing.
Yeah, he had a few smelts, a few Cisco's, he probably had some shad. He's been eating big time.
That one totally fooled us.
I can't believe
it ran twice.
I don't think in all the years of my walleye fishing have I seen it just take off like that.
Yeah,
backwards.
it ran twice hard, but you know those thick fish, they can make power, and this is that's a thick one.
That's thick.
That totally fooled us.
I tell you what, you know, it's such a fun place to come out here. You think of North Dakota, you think of just big flat nothing, but you get out to Sakakawea, you got these rolling hills, you got pheasant hunting, you got deer hunting, you got walleye hunting.
Big walleyes.
Big walleye.
Good news is, Sakakawea fish are usually on Banker's hours.
Then why are we up so early?
Because beer would have drove us all crazy.
Blaming it on you. We all know whose fault it is. Incoming! But I tell you what, I came out, got some birds already. Got to get some bites. You watching for them, Bear? They could be coming. The McTighty McWhitey.